Carl and Brendan here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And we're doing a video wrapping up the end of the year with our 10 favorite tracks of 2021. So this is not album related. This is not EP related. It could be a single. It can be any single track. It could come from an album that you reviewed and gave 6 out of 10. But that one track just happens to be wow for you, that kind of thing. So we thought we'd choose 10, not in any order. So just 10 tracks that we love, I've listened to out throughout the year, or will be listening to for many, many years to come. Ended up in a playlist of your best music, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I'll get us started on this one. And I'm going to jump straight in with the band TRNA. And it is the song Shining, which features Gbhblofficial. This is an epic. This is just a massive epic that's got all the heaviness I love of this band, but also the incredible post aspects they bring into it. When I saw featuring Gbhblofficial, and I thought, okay, they're cool. They're a cool band. That's an interesting combination. But you know, when somebody here featuring, and it'll either be a line here, a verse here, it won't really matter. This track belongs as much to Gbhblofficial as it does TRNA. It's a combined effort, enough so that the track Shining would be repeated on the album later, but without Gbhblofficial as an instrumental. So it's like, here's the 2 variations on it. It's from the album Istok. Do check that out. It's an incredible, incredible release. With this of that album is the one track I urge people to. It is the showcase track of the album. The band are aware of that as well. But do check it out. It'll blow your mind. It's 10+ minutes of just sitting and go, what the fuck am I listening to? How has several people created this?
Awesome. Never heard it. So what am I going to go for first? So, okay, a bit more mainstream than that one.
Oh.
And that is the song How Many Tears to Nurture a Rose by Cradle of Filth from their latest album, Existence is Futile.
Yep.
Another great album with the modern kind of lineup. The nice little, well, they settled, but obviously they changed keyboardist for this one.
Yep.
I still think they're relatively settled compared to, you know, the days.
Compared to past, yeah.
You know, so and there's a lot of great songs on this album, and you know, I wanted to put one in there because I wanted to, like, there's a couple of songs in particular that I kind of listen to on repeat, but I think How Many Tears to Nurture a Rose is probably my favorite of them. You know, it's nice to see it. It's a powerful song, and it actually sees, I guess, Danny kind of evolve a little bit as a vocalist as well in this, you know, and anyone who sort of hears that probably thinks that's a load of bollocks, because we all know what Danny Filth sings like. You know, how do you evolve that? But he does actually change in this, and there's almost a singing style along with the kind of harsh shrieking that comes along with it. Lots of passionate kind of guitars and solos and melodies playing out. It's very, very dark. It hits the darker Cradle of Filth passages, while almost at times being, for Cradle, mainstreamish.
Yeah.
You know? But I love it. I think it's amazing. It's got a wonderful pre-chorus chorus combination, which is, yeah, probably the thing that kind of first took me. It was like, oh shit, the guitars in the background along with this sort of singing style was brilliant. So yeah, one of my favorite songs of the year, easily.
Cool. Okay, I'm staying in the black metal world, but this time dealing with atmospheric black metal / post metal. It is Fluster. The new album this year was Doam, and the track is Im Erbesberger Forst. So this is effectively the first proper track on the album, and immediately, if you're a fan of this band, a German atmospheric black metal band, this immediately will tell you Doam is more of the same, but Fluster still always willingly challenging themselves. It's over 10 minutes long, and it's just beautiful. It's that glorious atmospheric black metal that has the unbelievably scathing heaviness you love of black metal, but also does these incredibly emotional melodies and feeling of nature and just the world that they create. This was such a confidence booster for me, because you put the album on, you do an intro, there's sort of an opening intro track, and you're like, okay, that's fine. Let me hear what you've got. And this was what I heard. It was like, oh, it's going to be fine. Because even if the rest of the album's wank, this one did it. yeah, one of my favorite of the year.
Awesome. Okay, my next one then is a song called Roots and Leaves by the French melodeth and Efanima.
Of course.
Most recent album come out not too long ago, actually, just in November, I think, called A Dream of Wilderness. And was a very, very good album overall. I think it falls a little short of Procopton's kind of immensely high bar that was set. Yeah, that's not a problem because, like I said, you don't really want a band to just be always trying to recreate the same fucking album.
Of course.
But that also means that then when you're going to evolve and change your sound, you're going to be able to then say whether you prefer this one or that one. And I probably prefer Procopton as an album overall. But out of everything that they do on A Dream of Wilderness, and there is some changes in it. There's like, I don't know, more classical kind of vocals, and a lot of the kind of core Efanima stuff is still there, which is like the far solos and that sort of stuff. The melodeth side is quite heavy, but I think there's a bit more symphony on this album as well. Roots and Leaves is probably the song I think on this album that is the kind of summary of everything that Efanima have become with this album. It's very, very big as a song. It's quite epic in length, but also in terms of passages, it switches stuff up quite a bit. Big choirs in choruses, which is kind of more, I guess, often seen as a power metal sort of thing, and that's possibly why sometimes we struggle to categorize Efanima, because there's so many symphonic elements, there's so many power elements, but they're clearly also at times a melodeth band. It's like, but I think Roots and Leaves kind of takes all three of those genres and just blends it, and it becomes like this kind of well-worked, almost perfectly transition between the genres. Lots of orchestras, lots of symphony, lots of speed and aggression. It's got a big chorus, massive solos, of course.
Yep.
And like a nice kind of mix up in the vocals. So, I think it's one of those songs that just like, if I wanted to summarize what Efanima are in a song, this is probably the best example I have to say, like, this is everything that they do, wrapped up in one big song. So Roots and Leaves.
Great choice. Yeah, I actually really like that song too. Blood Red Hourglass is where I'm going to next, off the album Your Highness. The track is Until We Meet Again. It's the last track of the album. So this album, Your Highness, kind of took me by surprise. Know who Blood Red Hourglass are, and I know my melodeth. But melodeth can be tender penny, it can also be really spectacular, and there are plenty of great bands out there. I would never previously have put Blood Red Hourglass in that category. I'd have been like, yeah, I think they're a good band, but I don't know enough by them. Your Highness is basically my favorite melodeth album of the year. From beginning to end, it's spectacular. There are lots of tracks you could choose, but I chose Until We Meet Again simply because of its finale feel and how it generally felt like this was an end of an album. And I think that's really hard to do. And Tony nailed it, but vocally, lyrically, everything about this, while also being just a great encapsulation of everything great in this melodeth sound that they provide on this, dare I say, almost grown-up version of melodeth, where it's still very serious, where it's got all the elements you know and love from melodeth band. But I don't know, there's just something about this one that's connected with me more than any other melodeth does. You like melodeth more than I do, and you'll play me a band or an artist that you really like, and I'll be like, yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Whereas I feel like if you play really Blood Red Hourglass, Blood Red Hourglass, like I would have been blown away by it. It was just one of those totally surprise things. And Until We Meet Again was just a spectacular finale. So that's the one I chose from it.
Cool. Okay, let's go for the song Serpent Spirit.
Wow.
By the band Earn, from the album of the same name. Obviously, when it came out, I don't even remember when it came out, but a while back now. I think the album kind of did well, and there's a lot of positive press and everything like that. And I know, like, obviously, like we said in previous videos, you were a big champion of it. You are a big champion of it. The song, I guess, I spoke on the live performances video. I wouldn't say that the whole album kind of hit me well until after I saw them live, when I then became a fan of all of it. But the one track that I really, really loved, even before seeing them live, was the song Serpent Spirit.
Yeah.
And a big part of that was to do with that opening melody. I love the fact that like the very first thing you hear on that album also kind of went on to become the thing that I loved about the band and the album the most. And then the thing that excited me the most at the live performance, from when that bit started playing. And it's so cool that it's like the first 15-20 seconds of the album is that, you know, that like it's enough, it's good enough that I didn't really like, I was already like, I think I'm gonna love this. You know, within 15 seconds I was like, oh, this is my jam. You know, so but obviously across the whole of the song, across the whole of the album, but also in the song, once you get past that intro, you know, it's the kind of big chunky riffs and the beastly drums. It's very, very heavy. It's very, very emotional. And I think Serpent Spirit for me is it's my favorite song on the album. And yeah, that's why it's in this list.
Absolutely, it should be as well. I also am going to throw in my choice of Urn. I have one from Urn as well. However, mine is Memorial off the album Serpent and Spirit. This is the instrumental. Now, way back when this was first released, in an interview with Joe Nolly of the band and in the review, I suggested and made a bold claim that I thought this was the best instrumental I'd ever heard since Metallica's Orion. And it almost feels like you said something wrong when you say that, but it's like, I'm not saying it's better than Orion. I'm saying it's the best one I've heard since. You know, that's it. Simple as that. Now, time has gone by. This album came out on early summer. I believe it was like early summer. I can't remember the exact date. So time has gone by. I still believe that. I still believe this is the best instrumental I've heard since Orion. I still adore it as much. The absolute incredible level of detail in this and so on. And I get it. It's not got vocals, and vocals are a major part of Urn as well. The vocals are fantastic. But musically, this one just fucking nails everything. It's got a great, great melodic passage as well, while being chunky and heavy. This track comes on. I've heard this probably 100, maybe more times this year alone. I never skip it. I never skip it. Just like, oh, sweet, Memorial's back. Yep, I'll let that go. Yeah, love it. Yeah.
It is brilliant. I mean, I doubted it when you said it. You know, I love it. I think it's fantastic as well. It's actually the last song I listened to. I had it on my headphones on the way up to going out yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Full volume, which always adds a bit more to it. But you know, there are a lot of great instrumentals.
There are.
Even within the Metallica camp on its own.
Yeah, of course, because that would be ignoring Suicide and Redemption, for example, which is a great instrumental, you know?
To Die.
Yep. Well, yeah,
by the way, it's fantastic. It's a great song. Okay, so next one for me then is the song Terrestia 4 Work by Rivers of Nile.
Yep.
It's also quite hard work to say the name of the song.
Incredible song.
Yeah, and it is, you know, like I'm quite like a simple person with metal normally, you know what I mean? If things get too progressive and too technical, sometimes that can see me sort of switch off a little bit. But there's something about the way that Rivers of Nile do their stuff that like I quite like. You know, obviously I like the fact that there's, you know, little kind of added elements like the sax and stuff like that in there anyway. And this is the last song on the album. I think it's the last song on the album, The Work. 11-ish, 12 minutes long, and there's a lot in it. There really is. Like it's not normally one for people like even like me, because it's potentially too complex, you know, and I'm a stupid, you know, fat metal who's happy to bang his head to 3-minute long thrash songs. You know, but I do think this is brilliant. I think it's absolutely mental at times. I think it's complicated, it's intense, it's heavy, it's beautiful at times. It can sometimes be hard to follow. And at times in that I feel twisted up, like I've lost, like I'm in a maze and I've just ended up like kind of at a dead end and I don't know what to do. But I think when the song ends, like my kind of feelings around the song were just like, that was amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like it's complicated and it's hard, and I don't even always fully understand what the band are trying to do. but in a great way. Like I come out of it not annoyed or frustrated. I come out of it thinking like, oh man, that was insane. Let's have another go and see if I can follow it this time. And then, so yeah, I think Rivers of Nile are a complex band. I love the fact that they just kind of, I don't know if they do what they want, because I think everything they do has a plan.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think this stuff is like meant to, you know, I think it's meant to leave me feeling like that. And that's why I like it. I don't think they've just thrown everything they can at the song to try and, you know, and then gone, oh, that'll do. I think they've actually purposely tried to lead me down these paths and to make it intense and to make it complicated. And I think I appreciate that. I think they're kind of, they don't really do genres and boundaries and stuff like that. They just seem to do what they want to do. And for me, it works really, really well. I'm a big fan of Rivers of Nile, and I thought the album, The Work, was very, very good. But I thought Terrestrial 4 Work was by far the best song on the album, and one of my favorite of the year.
Incredible review, incredible descriptive detail, man. If you haven't heard that track, go check it out. I think Brennan's words about being lost in a maze and dead ends and stuff really does come through. Okay, my next one is kind of tying into what you were just saying about long, meandering, complex ideas. And it's Kallus, and it's the track Fatberg from A Breath of Flesh Air. This album kind of blew me away when I heard it. I was expecting good things to like Kallus, but it was actually a fucking immense piece of work. Amongst it is the track Fatberg, a great title, because, you know, what does that create in your head? And I think this track exemplifies that. It's very, very deep. It's very, very complex. It's got a great mix of sludge and stoner and heavy metal, all the things that make Kallus really, really exciting. But also it's just got these switches and tempo shifts and changes and stuff, directions that constantly keep you hot-footed, almost unable to work out what's going to happen next, but in a really clever and detailed way, while actually being quite a catchy track too. So yeah, Kallus is Fatberg.
Cool. They were very, very good as well live. Should we go for, all right, so going back to earlier in the year for my next one, and this is the song The Tormentor by Dream Troll.
Oh yeah.
Obviously I'm a big fan of the band anyway, but their latest album, Realm of the Tormentor, which came out in like June or July, I think, somewhere back then anyway. And again, it's full of high energy, smile inducing kind of metal, but the opening track on that, which was also the lead sort of single for it, The Tormentor, is just fucking brilliant, to be honest with you. There's not really much I can say about it other than that. I think we've reacted to it as well, so you can kind of, you know, people can check that video out if they haven't heard this song, but it just fucking makes you smile, man. It's like, it's got loads of energy, lots of kind of, you know, lots of bass hooks, big chorus, of course, and you know, big solo, nice grainy kind of Mum's Basement sort of video, you know, to back it up as well. And it's just one of those songs, I think, like, even like now, if I'm feeling a bit down or a bit lethargic or whatever, like, you can just put that song on and I know I'm going to feel a bit better.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a real smile inducing, happy, kind of good old school sort of traditional heavy metal track.
Yes, make sure you check it out. Leave a positive review. Don't leave a negative review. They don't like that.
No, that's true.
Okay, my next one is an actual single. It's not from an album, or at least an album that we're aware of yet. So this is from Coed and Cambria, a band, I'll be honest, I don't care that much for. Never really given a lot of time for. Whatever I'd heard, I never really gave much shit about. Anyway, earlier this year, they released a single that I was like, okay, we need to do some reaction videos. Let's check out Shoulders by Coed and Cambria. And I fucking fell in love with this track. Oh my God, the catchiness of this track, the chorus, every time I listen, you talk about tracks that put a smile in your face. This puts a smile on my face, even though lyrically, it's kind of about defiance of a bad relationship and standing up to yourself and things like that, which is not something I can relate to, but it's something that I can just super duper enjoy. The complexities that they have in a very simple track that is verse, chorus, and all that sort of thing. And that chorus is just so fucking catchy. I find myself singing along to it every time, even though lyrically there aren't words that I would say. You know, I fell in love with this track. Yeah.
That's cool. It's another song I know you've spoken positively about it, but I don't think I've actually even listened to. Probably check some of these songs out. That's a good thing about these lists, you know. I'm also finding 10 tracks I can check out here. Okay, so we're gonna go next for not from an album, also from a single, although a 3-track single. And this is Arrows in Words from the Sky by Machine Head.
Cool.
Let's stay in my mainstream big bands here. You know, obviously I've got a long-standing kind of love of Machine Head, but that doesn't mean that, like, you know, I forgive them of everything. And there's been a lot of shit out in the last couple of years, man.
Yeah,
a lot of shit. You know, to the point where it annoys the fucking hell out of me, because I want to be able to champion them, because and it's hard sometimes when
you're making it hard. Yeah,
you know, it's like, dude, why would you do that or say that or put that shit song out, man? Come on, I'm trying to like support you here.
Yeah,
but Arrows and Words from the Sky it's on a 3-track single, and all 3 songs are good, but 2 of them are good and 1 of them very, very good, which is why it then settles at an average of good. You know, Arrows and Words from the Sky is probably the best song individually Machine Head have released in 2 or 3 years, to be honest with you, as an individual track.
Yeah.
Obviously in albums, like, you know, there are great songs on albums, along with, you know, some very, very much not so great on Catharsis, for example.
Yeah.
But as an individual track, you know, we've had a lot of this kind of single stuff. You know, we've had them drop in covers, we've had them songs like Circle the Drain, we've had, you know, and while some of them are okay, none of them really kind of scream that kind of like Machine. They weren't Machine Head that I fell in love with. You know, it was like a different sort of band. Whereas Arrows and Words from the Sky kind of brought me back a few years back to, you know, maybe like Locust sort of times. I don't think as far back as the Blackening, because it still had that kind of modern production to it. But, you know, back to that kind of time where it was a bit more expansive. It was a bit more like what I kind of want from my version of Machine Head. You know, the choruses were good, big solos, like the sort of dual kind of harmonizing solos in it. And I love it. I really, really do think it's a fantastic song. I think it's the best thing they've released in a long time. And it's not just because of my love of them. I think actually as a song, the reason it's in here isn't because it's the best song Machine Head did. It's because I genuinely think it's one of the best songs of the year. So.
That's a good point to clarify. I mean, I second what you're saying, particularly in regards to the best song they'd done in a good few years. 100% agree with literally everything. We're very much in tune with the Machine Head kind of train on that front. Okay. The next couple are like ones that I'm like, if I was ranking them, these are the ones that would be in the top sort of area. Fortitude Valley. This is from the album Fortitude Valley, self-titled. So this is a very pop-orientated, pop rock, punk rock album. And I like that music, so nothing there. Anyway, this album is really, really strong, all the way up to the end, where they do The Right Thing Part 2. The Right Thing Part 1 exists earlier on, and that's a good track. The Right Thing Part 2 fucking blew me away. And if you know the track, you're thinking, why? Because what it was, and this is, so I'm not great on vocals. We know this. You should know this. I don't always listen to what vocals are saying. I don't always pay that much attention to the detail in them. Even though I'd like to try, I don't. But when they're clear and I can understand them directly off the cuff, that's always interesting to me. It's why Coed and Cambria's Shoulders is quite a track for me, because I can hear it all and so on. This is the case with this track because it's very melodramatic. It's got a very mellow guitar tone, and her singing is very, very relaxed and mellow again. But when I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, like, it's not that I could relate to it. It's the fact that I related to her and understood what she was singing about, and I felt the detail, I felt the wording, I felt the fact that she was singing about the simple fact that this friendship, this is just gone. And like, it simply doesn't matter anymore because it's done. And the right thing is just to give each other space and walk away from each other and stuff like that. There's an aspect of that I can relate to on a personal level. I won't go into detail, but that was a cool thing for me. It really connected with me on that. And I remember listening to it here. I was at this computer reviewing the album, and I listened to that track 10 times in a row, over and over again, just going, wow, I get it. I just find it really beautifully, emotionally captivating. I had to be in here. I had to put it in here. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's right. Obviously, I love lyrical content, man. I buy into it massively, and I do, to the point of ridiculousness, try and like equate songs to myself based on what you're saying. Like, it's great when you find one that really, really kind of, I don't know, reads you. You become like kind of one with it. And
this was this. Yeah.
And that leads nicely into my next one, which is my second song by Machine Head. Not really. Not really.
No,
but Rob Flynn is on it.
It's voices.
And, it is the song Everyone I Love Is Broken by Oceans. And I think I've spoken about this song quite a lot. Didn't really know anything about Oceans. I really, really didn't. And I didn't even know actually that Rob Flynn was on this song when I listened to it. This wasn't listened to because he was on it, or any of the others, because there are other great guests like Andy Dorner and that on the 4-track EP, but a German metalcore band. I kind of heard of the song more through the fact that it was like a kind of mental health, not charity EP. It was to raise awareness, I guess, more than anything else. And it wasn't to raise awareness about mental health issues. It was quite a specific thing, which is why I quite remember hearing about it and thinking, oh, that interested me. They didn't want to do like, they weren't doing like, hey, we just want to let everyone know about mental health. They channeled in on antidepressants, and they wanted to talk about that one specific area, which is about the potential overprescription of antidepressants to people when not backed up with psychological help, like somebody to talk to, that sort of channel of conversation. And actually just chucking pills at people and saying, take them for a couple of years, you'll be all right. Well, and they wanted to address the fact that, that doesn't really resolve the problem. And I thought that was very specific, and I love how specific it was, that, they weren't just going to go, hey, we want to talk about the fact we're all mental. They wanted to just channel in on this thing that they felt was a real problem. I went into the EP with that kind of knowledge and thinking like, oh, this could be interesting, or it could be really kind of bloated and overindulgent, and actually let's see how it goes. And then that's when I realized there were guests on it, and one of them was Rob Flynn on the song Everyone I Love Is Broken. Rob's great on it, don't get me wrong, but that's not the reason why I love this song. I love this song because it, like you were just speaking about, it speaks to me on a personal level. I think they do a fantastic job of putting their point across, both in the song but also in the video that accompanies it. The video is very, very powerful. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. They do a great job of showing how antidepressants can impact on a person's
the video's amazing,
health and well-being. It's a very, very catchy song. It's quite clean, like in terms of production and that. We're not talking about hard, grainy kind of core stuff here. We are talking about the polished end, I think. But it's done very, very well. It's got a very, very catchy kind of chorus. It's very powerful. It's very important. And I genuinely feel, as a person who I feel like I know quite a bit about this sort of stuff, that it's the sort of stuff that if you could listen to, and it may help you. It'll help you for a bad time. You might be able to listen to this song and feel that little bit like they understand me, and you're not alone in this sort of stuff. And I think that's a fantastic thing for a piece of music, a 3-4 minute long bit of music to be able to do. So yeah, easily one of my favorite songs of the year.
You've been championing this band all year, but it's worth noting some balance is their last release didn't really do much for you, right?
No shit.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I wasn't a fan. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and it happens sometimes. That's why we're doing the songs as well, because I don't think, and I've listened to other stuff by Oceans, I don't think I'm particularly on board with the band.
Right.
But I think this EP is phenomenal. I don't know, man. There's more to listen to. Like, I'll keep an eye on them. Don't get me wrong. But at the moment, I love this EP while not being too sure about the band.
That's what I said at the start. Yep, completely fair. Okay, we've got 3 left, is it? Yeah, one. Yep, 3 left. Okay, so Nelix. This is the solo project of Chris Neal, the guitarist of Solars, and he released an album only a few weeks ago, quite recent, called Destinations. And immediately, if you know his work at Solars, you also know that what he brings to this is a post-instrumental rock aspect / metal. So right up my street. However, this simple line, I think, will sell it to a lot of people. It is a concept album, so to speak, around the 5 stages of grief. So each track title, barring an intro and overture and things like that, is named after one of the 5 stages of grief. But anger, bargaining, and the one I've chosen as the track that I love the most on it, one of my favorite years, is Depression. There you probably get an image, you think, all right, post-metal, depression, they're a great mix together. However, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good track. It doesn't mean it's going to convey the feeling, the emotional impact that such a track could bring to you, and that it might be able to, I don't know, help you through that stage if you're listening to it and you think, okay, I can relate to this, and they're relating to it in some way as well, and stuff like that. The whole album has that feel to it. I think one of the things he does brilliantly is actually nail what I would think the emotion felt of that period of your grief would be like. So Anger, for example, has a much faster tempo, and it has a little bit more meat and fire to it. Bargaining has this desperation, almost rhythmic quality to it. Depression does exactly what you want it to do. It takes you down, it mellows you out, it says to you, but it's also got this incredibly uplifting latter half where it's like you're getting through this. It's part and parcel of the stages, you know it is, but it doesn't mean it's the end of everything. You just got to get past it. Your Depression off Destinations.
Cool. Sounds good. I haven't even listened to it. I have actually downloaded it like on my streaming device, but so much fucking music.
Okay.
Try not to promote anyone. All right, so although no, we're not doing any of these in order. These actually were written down in order. These were my top 3 of songs in the year. So the first one of these is the song Pillars of Fire, The Battle of Messines, by the Ukrainian black, post-black, I don't even know, to be honest. They're black something or within the black environment, 1914. Obviously a band that kind of like I don't know, it's not unique as such, because obviously there are a lot of concept sort of stuff going on out there, but whereas a lot of people do concept albums, 1914 are a concept band.
Yeah.
Very, very firmly based in World War One. And can't really do much about that unless they find some other events that happened in 1914. They're kind of stuck with that now. But what they do is very, very good. And I think that the first album I'd heard from them, which was Where Fear and Weapons Meet, which was a year. No, sorry, no, it's not. It wasn't. It was The Blind Leading the Blind. Oh, yeah. Sorry, was the first one. And I was blown away by that album. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. But I didn't know how many you could do. Like, you know what I mean? Like whether it would still be as amazing when they release their next album, or whether it was just more of the same, to be honest with you. But the most recent album, Where Fear and Weapons Meet, is also absolutely phenomenal. I love the dark kind of take on war, which is probably more realistic for a lot of people than, you know, the sort of power metal version of war. It is quite disgusting to listen to sometimes. It's very, very bleak, you know. There's not a lot of there's not always a lot of positivity, I think, to take out of 1914 albums. You don't come out of it going,
you don't feel good.
Yeah, I feel inspired. You know, you come out of it almost like feeling like, oh man, we suck, humans. We are terrible. But they're very, very good at what they did. And this song in particular, accompanied with the video for it as well, which is also one of the very, very impactful. It's an animated video,
Yep.
but it doesn't change the impact of it at all. So yeah, the Pillars of Fire, the Battle of Messines, it's educational in a way, because actually the stories that they're telling about these battles that I'd never heard of, because I see, like many people, maybe the film stories of World War One and maybe a little bit from history that I might remember, but this is getting into sort of individual battles way away from the kind of mainstream idea of what war is.
Yeah.
And it's amazingly dark, you know. But I also, do you know what I really like about 1914 is that they're also, I think, quite progressive. And actually, there's a lot of things that are different on this album compared to The Blind Leading the Blind and on this song. You know, even to the fact that, and I know it sounds weird to say this, song has got a catchy chorus.
Yeah.
Like it's strange, but it's a catchy chorus that I can constantly remember because it's a hook and it's in my head even now. So I think it's a brilliant song. My favorite song on the album, of another brilliant album by a band that I think are really, really special.
Yeah, you showed this one to me. We did a reaction video to it. It is one that I feel gets more impactful alongside the video, kind of like Sabaton's Christmas Truce. Great song, but watch it with a video and you'll really, really feel it. I think, particularly with regards to the history, what this particular song they're singing and talking about, I think then getting that visual medium alongside it, but it is spectacular. It is.
But don't expect to feel better after
watching it. No. But hey, who wants to feel good? It's metal. Talking of not feeling good. Holy shit. So, Old Man Wizard, a band I've been aware of but never really followed, released their final album this year, Kill Your Servants Quietly, announced it as the last thing they were doing. And then they were calling time on this band. And I went, okay, cool. That's a reason to listen to it alone. That's a reason to give it the time I want to hear. I want to see how they go out. And they're a very unique band, very hard to categorize. Can be super, super fucking mellow, can be super heavy, can be super rocky, stony, psychedelic, you name it, this band could do it all, right? So the whole album, I'm sitting there mesmerized because I'd never listened to a full album, a complete album where I got it, where I felt like, oh my God, this is you actually saying the end. And you're doing it in a way that I feel it. And I was mesmerized. And then I got to the final track. And I don't even think, right, necessarily that it's not even the best track on the album. But what it was, it's called Live Forever. And the what they portray in this track almost made me cry because it is a goodbye track. And it all hit me. I got it. With everything I'd listened at that point, and then to come to this finale and it to be sung in a way and said in a way where it almost felt personal. I was sitting at a table at work and I'm like that. And I felt like they were next to me around that table. And this was the goodbye, and we're like, but they weren't sad about it. It was a good feeling. It was like, we've done this, we've made it this far, thank you. And it's just, by to get into this track and having this track the way it's done, just confirm everything I'd felt up to this point. And this is how they chose to see their career out. It's still mind blown. But here's the thing, I wouldn't play this track in isolation. Like if I played it to you now, I don't know if you'd get it. Like it's that kind of thing. It's that situation. It needs to really the whole album, but just for me, for how it made me feel. And I couldn't believe it. I remember texting my wife directly after going, oh my fucking God, this band has destroyed me. Like what the hell was this? Like that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So Old Man Wizard, Live Forever off Kill Your Servants Quietly.
Destroyed you.
Yeah.
Okay. Second favorite song of the year. Or well,
But it is now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is now. And I have gone for the song House of Cadmus by Chemist.
Interesting choice.
It's kind of similar to what you said there, actually. I'm not even sure if this is my favorite song on the album at the moment, but it was when I wrote the list. But it's one of those albums, their latest album, Deceiver, where I back and forth between 3-4 songs on it.
Oh, easily.
Quite comfortably, you know. House of Cadmus, I think it was the first single from it. So because I know it more is why I kind of settled on this one. And also it has this thing in it, which has almost become kind of like a mental game for me. And they drive me fucking mad with it because I lose every time. And that is that in the intro to this song, which is a typical Chemist song, right? It is a typical Chemist song in that it's firstly, that's fucking brilliant. But secondly, that it's quite expansive. It's quite long. It's quite complicated in terms of like its kind of technical edge, in that it's not always obvious where the beat is or how to capture it, or, you know, when it's going to transition, when it's going to change. And in the beginning of this song, it's quite melancholy, you know. It's got a very, very kind of like low toned ringing guitar and a single drum that it goes 1, and then the next time it does dun dun dun, it's a 3, and then the time after that it does a different number. And I've listened to this song, man, I don't know, like 50 times, 100 times, I don't know how many times I've listened to this song, and I still now can never get the next beat. Number. And I'm like, it's going to be 2 next, and then they do 1, and it's like, no, again. How the fuck do I not know this by now? I can't figure out. Like, I'm like, there must be a pattern. I've always become like a kind of weird, like sort of fucking Darren Brown, Tom Hanks character, where I'm trying to figure out the code. So, you know, and I'm like 1, then 3, then 2, then it should be back to the 1, but no, it doesn't. It goes 2 again. It's like, how can you do 2? It drives me fucking mad. But anyway, like away from that, I think Deceiver of the album is fucking amazing. I really do. I've become such a fan of Chemist. Not just over this album, but over the last 5 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think this band are one of the greatest bands we have around today. And all they've done on this latest album with House of Cadmus is a great example, and other songs are too, is just what they already are, but just turned up another notch. You know, the vocals sound even better. The heavier bits are heavier. The clean bits he hits higher notes than I've heard them hit before. I think they're absolutely phenomenal, and I think House of Cadmus for me is today my favorite on the album.
Yeah,
probably not tomorrow. Yeah.
All right, we'll come to my last one then. And hopefully you might have an inkling of what I'm going to go for here if you've watched some of the other videos. So earlier this year, I went to see a band I'd never heard of. And I went to see this band play live, and it was pretty fucking spectacular. But it was about halfway through into they started this song up, and I was mesmerized. Unbelievably, I couldn't believe how good this fucking song was. Directly left that venue, brought it up on my streaming service, and then have listened to that song every day for a week straight before I was like, no, go check out the rest of the album now and the rest of the songs and stuff like that. There's still nothing as good as this track. I'd never ever have seen a band live who I've known nothing by and fallen in love with a specific track this quickly. Like, that's what blew my mind. It is, of course, Sugar Horse, and it is, of course, the track Phil Spector in Hell Off the Live Long After. We did a reaction battle to this, and it's one of those where I was like, oh my god, you better love this track, because if you don't, you're wrong. Like, it's that. I'm so convinced that if you don't like this track, you're all wrong. It's that kind of thing, you know. But yeah, this just blows my mind. This is incredible depth of beauty, utterly fascinating listen. It's just, and the fact that live, it sounded exactly like it does on the record is what I think just kind of blew my mind. Yeah, so that's why this is probably my #1 track of the year if I was ranking them. But yeah.
And I did like it.
Yes, you did.
There we go. So I wasn't wrong. Okay, so my last one on my top 10. And this was probably the hardest one for me to put on there, but not because I knew there was going to be a song from this particular band on this particular album in here, and I struggled so much to choose which one of the songs on the album, because I love them all, was going to be the one. And so the band is Ghost of Atlantis, probably not too much of a surprise there, and the album is there.
Which one?
3.6.2.4, and I still don't know, but I went with Falls of Lemuria. It is one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite songs on the album, you know. But I like so much of this album. It's unbelievable. I chose this one in the end just because it's the second track on the album, and it's probably the one I first fell in love with.
Yep.
You know, I really enjoyed the opener. I think it was the third pillar. But it was when this one kind of dropped that I remember, like, that was when I started, like, talking to people. It was actually, and actually, because we reacted to this, and this was the first song of theirs that I was like, hey, we got to react to this song.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I kind of look back at it and be like, yeah, this is the one that I fell in love with, first of all. You know, it was difficult. Like I said, I think I wrote down that it was like choosing what combination of bacon, sausage, and egg I want on my sandwich at the cafe at work the other day. You can only have 2 options out of the 3. And it's
really?
like, oh, which they go, yeah, you can get a baguette and like you can have bacon, sausage, and egg, but you have to choose 2 options, and then that's what the fixed price is. And that's really hard. And that's what I kind of felt like when I was doing this. I remember standing there trying to choose and being like, I don't fucking know which any of the 2 really.
They're both fine, yeah.
Felt the exact same thing when I was like, right, which Ghost of Atlantis song am I putting in this list?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, but you know, like it's got everything that I love about Ghost of Atlantis, and the other songs do too, you know. But like it's got a big intro. It's got the kind of symphonic-y kind of orchestral elements that build up into it. Big heavy verses, you know, with you know, harsh vocals, meaty drums, big riffs, and then it's that the chorus happens, and then that's when I think with Ghost of Atlantis, with this album, where I was like, I you know, I love everything that they do, but it's the transition where it goes from this almost not quite brutal but very intense heaviness into the cleaner passages that they have in their choruses. And on this song in particular, where we get the wonderful back and forth between the heavier vocals and the cleaner vocals, and they merge together absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
It sounds like they were made to, like, those 2 vocal styles to be put together by these 2 singers. And yeah, I love it. So yeah, there you go. That's it. My favorite song of the year.
Immense choice. Yeah, I kind of completely forgotten we hadn't had one from you in that front, but there you go. There's our 10 favorite tracks of the year. What do you think? What are some of yours? Drop them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?